Tonight, before sleep finds you, imagine discovering that meaning in life was never hiding somewhere far away. What if it has been quietly waiting, in the smallest moments you almost forgot to notice? In this gentle journey, you won't be asked to think harder or search faster. Instead, you'll slow down. You'll wander softly through 100 calming psychological reflections about purpose, how it grows through kindness, curiosity, rest, connection, and even the quiet lessons hidden inside ordinary days. Some of these facts may surprise you. Others may feel strangely familiar, are like remembering something you already knew deep inside. With each story and insight, your mind can relax, letting science and reflection guide you toward calm understanding, one peaceful thought at a time. So dim the light. Settle into your favorite resting place and allow the noise of the day to fade gently into the background. And before we begin, if you enjoy calm science, thoughtful storytelling, and peaceful facts designed to help you rest while learning, consider subscribing and joining our growing circle of quiet explorers. Your support helps this space remain slow, soothing, and endlessly curious. Take a slow breath. Let's begin. Purpose is rarely loud. Purpose is often imagined as a sudden moment of clarity, a dramatic realization, or a powerful turning point that changes everything overnight. Stories and films sometimes teach us to expect lightning strike moments, a single decision, a grand discovery, or a voice that suddenly tells us exactly where to go next. But quiet observation tells a softer story. For many people, purpose arrives slowly, almost unnoticed at first. It grows in ordinary mornings, in repeated habits, and in the small choices made without applause or urgency. Psychology suggests that meaning tends to form through consistency rather than intensity. The brain gradually links satisfaction with actions that feel useful, kind, or deeply engaging. You may notice it while helping someone solve a problem, or while returning again and again to an activity that feels calming rather than exciting. These moments rarely announce themselves as important. Instead, they feel familiar, almost comfortable. Scientists studying motivation often observe that humans feel most fulfilled when their daily actions quietly align with personal values. This alignment does not create fireworks. It creates steadiness. And steadiness can feel almost invisible. Sometimes purpose sounds like silence, the peaceful focus during creative work, the gentle patience of caregiving, or the quiet satisfaction of improving something little by little. In the end, purpose does not always shout to be heard. More often, it simply stays, waiting to be noticed. Humans naturally search for meaning. Human beings have always been quiet seekers of meaning, even when they do not realize they are searching at all. Long before modern psychology gave language to the idea of purpose, people across cultures found themselves asking similar questions during ordinary moments. Why am I here? What matters most? And how do small daily actions fit into a larger story? Interestingly, this search does not only appear during major life events. Research suggests that the mind often wanders toward reflection during simple activities, walking familiar paths, washing dishes, or watching rain move slowly across a window. These gentle moments allow the brain's deeper networks to become active. When attention softens and distractions fade, thoughts begin to organize themselves quietly in the background. Scientists sometimes describe this as a reflective mental state, where memories, hopes, and experiences begin connecting like distant stars forming constellations. Even children show early signs of this natural curiosity. They ask questions not only about how things work, but about why they exist at all. This suggests that searching for meaning may be part of human design rather than something learned later. And yet, the search rarely feels urgent. It drifts in slowly, appearing during quiet evenings or peaceful mornings when the mind feels safe enough to wander. Perhaps purpose is not something humans chase endlessly. Perhaps it is something the mind gently returns to, again and again, like a familiar path leading home. Purpose usually grows slowly over time. Many people imagine purpose as something waiting somewhere ahead, a destination reached after enough searching. There is a comforting belief that one day, clarity will suddenly arrive, bringing certainty and direction all at once. But human experience often unfolds more quietly than that. Psychologists who study motivation frequently notice that purpose behaves less like a discovery and more like a gradual unfolding. It develops through repetition, through experience, and through small moments that slowly gather meaning over time. A person may begin learning a skill simply out of curiosity. Another may offer help during a difficult moment without expecting anything in return. At first, these actions seem ordinary, almost accidental. Yet months or even years later, they begin to form a pattern. The brain naturally strengthens connections between actions that bring satisfaction or emotional calm. Each repeated experience leaves a gentle imprint, encouraging the same behavior again. Slowly, without announcement, identity begins to shape itself around these patterns. Often, people only recognize purpose when they look backward. What once felt like scattered choices begins to resemble a path that had been forming quietly all along. Growth rarely feels dramatic while it is happening. Seeds beneath the soil do not rush toward the surface. They grow in darkness first, slowly preparing for light. In much the same way, purpose often grows patiently within ordinary days, asking only for time and gentle attention. Feeling useful to others calms the mind. There is a quiet comfort that often appears when a person realizes they have helped someone else, even in a very small way. It might be offering advice during a difficult conversation, carrying something heavy for a neighbor, or simply listening without interruption. These moments rarely seem extraordinary from the outside. Yet inside the brain, something gentle begins to change. Psychologists have observed that acts of usefulness activate reward systems connected to emotional balance and safety. When a person feels needed, the mind interprets the experience as connection rather than isolation. And connection has always been deeply important for human survival. Long ago, belonging to a group meant protection, warmth, and shared responsibility. The brain still remembers this ancient lesson. Helping others can release calming chemicals that soften stress responses. Heart rate slows slightly. Breathing becomes steadier. Even anxious thoughts may loosen their grip for a while. Interestingly, usefulness does not require grand sacrifice. Small gestures often carry the strongest emotional impact because they happen naturally, without expectation of recognition. A quiet kindness offered during an ordinary day can create a lasting sense of meaning. Perhaps purpose sometimes begins not with searching inward, but with gently reaching outward. And in helping another person feel supported, the mind often discovers a surprising calm of its own, like a lake settling after a passing breeze. Purpose changes as life changes. Many people grow up believing that purpose is a single destination, something chosen once and carried unchanged throughout an entire lifetime. There is comfort in imagining a clear path that stretches endlessly forward, steady and certain. But human life rarely moves in straight lines. Psychologists often observe that purpose evolves alongside experience. As people grow older, relationships deepen, responsibilities shift, and understanding quietly expands. What once felt meaningful during youth may slowly give way to new forms of fulfillment later on. A young student may find purpose in learning and discovery, while a parent may discover meaning in protecting and guiding others. Later still, Someone may feel drawn toward teaching, creating, or simply offering wisdom gathered through years of living. None of these purposes cancel the others. They are seasons. The brain naturally adapts to changing environments. New challenges activate different values and motivations. Loss can reshape priorities. Joy can open unexpected interests. Even rest, after long periods of effort, can become meaningful in its own gentle way. Sometimes people worry when their direction changes, as though uncertainty means failure. Yet change often signals growth. Just as rivers bend around landscapes instead of resisting them, purpose quietly adjusts to the realities of life. It follows experience rather than forcing it. And perhaps the most peaceful realization is this: you are not required to be the same person forever. Purpose is allowed to grow with you, slowly, patiently, one season at a time. Small responsibilities often feel more meaningful than grand achievements. Many people imagine purpose as something large, impressive, and visible from far away. Awards, recognition, or accomplishments celebrated by many can seem like obvious signs of meaningful living. Yet quiet observation tells another story. Psychologists often notice that long-lasting fulfillment rarely comes from single dramatic achievements alone. Moments of success can bring excitement, even pride, but the feeling sometimes fades more quickly than expected. After the celebration ends, the mind slowly returns to its familiar rhythm. Small responsibilities, however, behave differently. Preparing meals for loved ones, caring for a pet, tending a garden, or showing up consistently for work each morning may seem ordinary from the outside. But repetition creates emotional roots. The brain begins to associate reliability with identity, and identity with stability. When someone depends on you, even in small ways, the mind recognizes connection and trust. These experiences quietly strengthen feelings of belonging. Responsibility also provides gentle structure. Knowing that something awaits your attention tomorrow can reduce feelings of drifting or uncertainty. It offers direction without pressure. Interestingly, many people later remember daily routines more fondly than large milestones. The bedtime stories read to children, the shared laughter during simple meals, or the steady presence offered during difficult times often become the memories that feel most meaningful. Perhaps purpose is not always found in extraordinary moments. Sometimes it lives inside the quiet promise to return, again and again, to care for what has been placed gently in your hands. Purpose strengthens emotional resilience. Life often moves in ways no one fully expects. Plans change, seasons shift, and moments of uncertainty arrive quietly, sometimes without warning. During these times, people often discover that emotional strength does not come only from confidence or determination. It often comes from purpose. Psychologists have long observed that individuals who feel connected to something meaningful tend to recover more gently from stress or disappointment. Purpose does not remove difficulty. Instead, it offers a reason to continue moving forward when energy feels low. When challenges appear, the brain searches for explanations. Without meaning, hardship can feel random or overwhelming. But when actions connect to values or care for others, experiences begin to fit into a larger story. This sense of narrative creates stability. A teacher may continue preparing lessons despite exhaustion because students are waiting. A caregiver may find patience during long nights because love gives context to effort. Even artists often return to their work after setbacks because creating feels necessary rather than optional. Neurologically, long-term goals help organize attention. They reduce the emotional weight of temporary discomfort by reminding the mind that today is only one part of a longer journey. Resilience, then, is not always loud courage. Sometimes it is quiet persistence. It is waking again after disappointment, taking one small step forward, and trusting that the path still holds meaning, even when the horizon feels far away. Purpose becomes a gentle anchor, steady beneath moving waves, allowing the heart to rest and continue. Helping others can quiet anxiety. Anxiety often feels like a room filled with echoes. Thoughts repeat themselves, questions circle endlessly, and attention turns inward again and again. The mind begins searching for answers to worries that may not yet have solutions. During these moments, even small acts of kindness can create surprising calm. Psychologists have observed that helping another person gently redirects attention away from internal stress. When focus moves outward, towards someone else's needs or comfort, the brain temporarily pauses its cycle of self-focused worry. This shift is not an escape from problems. It is a change in perspective. Offering support during a conversation, assisting a stranger, or simply listening without judgment activates emotional circuits connected to empathy and connection. These systems encourage cooperation and safety, responses deeply rooted in human history. Long ago, survival depended on group care. Supporting others strengthened bonds that protected entire communities. Even today, the brain still responds warmly to moments of shared effort. Researchers also note that kindness can release calming neurochemicals that soften physical tension. Shoulders relax. Breathing slows. Thoughts feel less crowded. Interestingly, the act does not need to be large. A gentle message, a smile, or quiet patience can be enough to interrupt anxious momentum. Perhaps purpose sometimes begins when attention softens toward another person. In helping someone else feel less alone, the mind often discovers a quiet relief of its own, like clouds slowly opening to a peaceful sky. Humans naturally attach meaning to stories about themselves. Humans are storytellers, even when no one is listening. From the earliest memories to quiet reflections at the end of the day, we weave experiences into narratives. Subtle stories that explain who we are and why we do what we do. Psychologists suggest that these self-stories are central to purpose. They allow the mind to organize scattered events into a coherent whole, connecting past actions, present moments, and future possibilities. Even small daily experiences gain significance when framed within these narratives. When a person recalls a simple act, helping a friend, learning a new skill, or overcoming a minor challenge, the brain begins to link it to identity. This gentle mental storytelling quietly reinforces meaning, creating emotional continuity and stability. Interestingly, the stories we tell ourselves do not need to be dramatic or heroic. They often emerge from ordinary moments: a walk in the park, a quiet conversation, or an evening spent reading. Each experience can quietly affirm values, strengths, and intentions. Through this process, purpose is not something external to find. It is often discovered within, in the narratives we build around our lives, quietly shaping perception and guiding future choices. Perhaps this is why reflection before sleep feels so comforting. As the mind softens, it gently strings the day's moments together into a story, revealing purpose where it quietly existed all along. Writing about personal experiences increases clarity. There is something quietly transformative about putting thoughts on paper. When the mind is active, when worries drift and ideas swirl, writing can act like a gentle lighthouse, organizing the scattered currents of thought. Psychologists and sleep researchers have observed that journaling or writing about personal experiences helps people understand their values, motivations, and long-term goals. The act of translating feelings into words engages reflective brain networks, allowing thoughts that feel chaotic to settle and align. Even brief entries, written without judgment, can reveal patterns that were previously unnoticed. Perhaps a person realizes they feel happiest when helping others, or calmest when immersed in a creative project. These subtle insights slowly strengthen awareness of purpose. Writing also provides perspective. When experiences are externalized onto paper, the mind can observe them more objectively. Challenges feel less overwhelming, accomplishments feel more tangible, and relationships gain quiet clarity. Interestingly, reflection through writing often deepens over time. A journal entry written months ago may take on new significance, revealing connections between events that were invisible in the moment. Purpose, in this sense, is not discovered through sudden insight. It gently emerges when attention slows, words flow, and the mind allows itself to notice the quiet patterns of life. People who volunteer regularly often report stronger life satisfaction. There is a quiet kind of fulfillment that comes from helping others, one that is not flashy or loud, but deeply soothing. People who engage in regular volunteer work often discover that giving their time or skills creates a gentle sense of purpose that lingers long after the activity ends. Psychologists studying well-being observe that volunteering activates emotional and reward centers in the brain. Unlike transient pleasures, these feelings are steady, providing a soft sense of meaning and connection. The mind begins associating helpfulness with identity, a subtle reminder that life can have significance beyond personal achievement. Interestingly, the benefits of volunteering are not limited to large or heroic acts. Small gestures, repeated consistently, often create the strongest emotional impact. Preparing meals for those in need, reading to children, or simply listening to someone who feels alone can quietly affirm the value of one's presence. These small contributions also reduce stress and anxiety. Attention shifts outward, worries that feel overwhelming in solitude soften, and a sense of belonging begins to grow. Life begins to feel less fragmented and more connected to others. Over time, people notice that purpose is not always something to be found in grand successes. It can grow in the rhythm of giving, slowly knitting life together into a quiet, comforting story of usefulness and care. Purpose can exist quietly in caregiving roles. Caregiving is often unnoticed by the wider world. The tasks are repetitive, sometimes exhausting, and rarely celebrated. Yet, quietly, they can become a profound source of purpose. Psychologists note that caring for others, whether children, elderly family members, or loved ones struggling with illness, activates emotional networks associated with meaning and connection. The mind senses significance in acts of nurturing and support, even when no recognition is given. Purpose in caregiving is often subtle. It may appear as a gentle satisfaction after helping someone eat, hearing a faint laugh, or noticing a small improvement in someone's day. These moments rarely feel dramatic, yet they create a deep sense of identity, the quiet knowledge that one's presence matters. Interestingly, caregivers often report that their sense of purpose grows over time, not immediately. Repetition of small, thoughtful acts slowly strengthens neural pathways associated with emotional resilience, empathy, and self-worth. This creates a stable sense of meaning that can help weather difficult or tiring days. Purpose, in this sense, does not always need to be loud or ambitious. It often lives in patience, consistency, and quiet attention. Through caregiving, life can feel softly anchored, a gentle rhythm of care that offers calm and significance to both the giver and the receiver. Even tending plants or animals can create a sense of meaning. Purpose does not always appear in grand achievements or dramatic life events. Sometimes, it grows quietly in the soft, steady act of caring for another living being. Psychologists and behavioral researchers have observed that tending plants or animals can have a surprisingly profound effect on emotional well-being. Watering a plant, pruning leaves, feeding a pet, or brushing a companion animal engages attention, nurtures patience, and fosters a gentle sense of responsibility. Over time, these small, consistent actions create a subtle but meaningful rhythm in daily life. Caring for another being also strengthens empathy and awareness. Observing growth, health, or even simple responses to your care provides feedback that quietly affirms purpose. A plant that blooms or a pet that seeks comfort from you becomes a soft reflection of your presence and attention. Interestingly, these experiences are calming as well as purposeful. The act of caring directs focus outward, reducing anxiety and creating a meditative sense of flow. The mind experiences satisfaction not through recognition, but through the quiet knowledge that it is supporting life in some small, steady way. Even in the simplest routines of nurturing, purpose can exist. It whispers in gentle gestures, reminding us that meaning often resides not in achievements, but in consistent care, attentiveness, and the quiet bonds we cultivate with living things. Children begin asking about purpose earlier than many adults expect. Even very young children demonstrate an innate curiosity about life's meaning. Long before they learn words like career or goal, they often ask subtle, profound questions. Why am I here? What does it mean to help? Why do people do what they do? Psychologists observe that this early curiosity reflects a natural drive to make sense of the world. Children notice patterns, relationships, and the effects of their actions. In these moments, they are quietly exploring what gives life significance, even if they do not yet call it purpose. Interestingly, many adults forget this instinct. They may believe that purpose is discovered only in adulthood, through major achievements or life-altering decisions. Yet children show that the search for meaning is natural, woven into human development. The mind seems wired to seek connection, understanding, and contribution from an early age. Encouraging reflection, gentle conversation, and small opportunities to make choices can nurture this early awareness. Allowing a child to help, create, or explore fosters both confidence and the sense that their actions matter. In essence, purpose does not begin suddenly in adulthood. It quietly grows from early experiences, observations, and questions, a gentle curiosity that, when supported, can bloom over a lifetime. Curiosity is often the earliest signal of developing purpose. Curiosity is a quiet companion of the human mind. It nudges gently, asking questions, exploring possibilities, and noticing small details that others might overlook. Often, it is one of the earliest signs that purpose is beginning to form. Psychologists observe that when people, even children, explore the world with interest, they are laying the groundwork for deeper meaning. A curious mind experiments, observes, and reflects, slowly connecting experiences with values, preferences, and identity. Each small why or how becomes a seed for understanding oneself and one's place in the world. Curiosity does not need to be dramatic. It can appear in the quietest moments. Examining a leaf, asking a neighbor about their day, or learning to play a simple melody. Over time, these small explorations accumulate, shaping the mind's sense of significance and direction. Interestingly, curiosity also softens anxiety. When attention drifts outward toward learning or discovery, the mind is gently guided away from endless self-questioning. This outward focus often leads to moments of insight, revealing patterns or interests that quietly hint at purpose. Purpose, then, often begins as a gentle question, a soft desire to understand, and grows through patient attention to the world. In curiosity, the mind finds its first whispers of meaning. Some people discover purpose through hardship. Purpose does not always arrive in comfort. For many, it quietly emerges in response to challenges, struggles, or moments of deep uncertainty. Hardship often draws attention inward, prompting reflection and subtle reassessment of priorities. Psychologists observe that difficult experiences, while uncomfortable, can awaken awareness of what truly matters. Facing illness, loss, or personal setbacks often encourages people to look beyond superficial goals and consider the deeper significance of their actions. Through this process, a sense of purpose may slowly crystallize. Interestingly, hardship can also cultivate empathy. People who have experienced suffering often find meaning in supporting others facing similar struggles. This gentle shift outward can create a quiet but powerful sense of value and connection. Purpose, in these moments, is less about personal gain and more about contribution and resilience. The mind also tends to integrate lessons from adversity over time. Initial discomfort gradually softens into understanding and insight. Memories that once caused pain can become reminders of strength, courage, and the importance of meaningful action. In this way, purpose is not always found in ease or comfort. Sometimes it emerges softly through challenge, like light breaking slowly through clouds, teaching the mind that even in difficulty, life can hold quiet, enduring significance. Adversity sometimes reshapes priorities more clearly than success. Life's challenges have a quiet way of revealing what truly matters. While success can be exciting, it often comes with noise, recognition, comparisons, and external pressures. Adversity, on the other hand, gently strips away distractions, leaving space to notice what is essential. Psychologists have observed that people who face setbacks or difficult circumstances often reevaluate their values. Relationships, kindness, health, and personal growth frequently rise in importance. In these moments, purpose may appear quietly, almost unannounced, as priorities settle into clearer focus. Interestingly, adversity can accelerate self-awareness. A sudden change, loss, or obstacle often forces reflection. What once seemed urgent may fade in significance. The mind begins to notice which actions, connections, or goals align with deeper meaning rather than fleeting desire. This process does not happen overnight. It unfolds gradually, in subtle realizations. A decision to spend more time with loved ones, a gentle shift toward helping others, or a renewed interest in personal passions. Each small choice reinforces a sense of significance, building purpose over time. Sometimes, purpose emerges not from the victories we celebrate, but from the quiet resilience cultivated during hardship. In navigating difficulty, life softly reminds us what truly matters, and the mind listens. Purposeful thinking reduces feelings of emptiness. Many people drift through life at times feeling a subtle emptiness, as though something is missing, even when all external needs are met. Psychologists suggest that this sensation often arises when life lacks a sense of purpose or meaningful direction. Purposeful thinking, however, can gently soften this emptiness. When the mind reflects on actions, values, and intentions, on why small efforts matter, it begins to create a quiet narrative that connects daily life to something larger. Even minor acts, like helping someone or practicing a craft, can ripple inward, providing the mind with a sense of significance. Interestingly, this effect is subtle. Purpose does not shout. It whispers. Focusing on meaningful routines or gentle long-term goals quietly fills the internal gaps that restlessness sometimes creates. The mind begins to notice that each choice, however small, contributes to a larger story. Over time, people who practice purposeful thinking report feeling steadier, calmer, and more satisfied. The quiet integration of daily experiences with personal values reduces internal disorientation. Life feels less like wandering and more like following a gentle current. Purpose, then, is not only about achieving milestones. It is about softly connecting each moment to what matters, slowly transforming emptiness into a calm, enduring sense of significance. Many cultures connect purpose with community rather than individuality. Across time and geography, Humans have often found meaning not in personal achievement alone, but in connection with others. In many cultures, purpose is woven through relationships, shared responsibilities, and contributions to the collective well-being. Anthropologists and psychologists observe that belonging to a community gives life rhythm and context. Participating in group activities, rituals, or shared work provides subtle signals of value and significance. These social bonds act like gentle anchors, reminding the mind that one's actions ripple beyond the self. Interestingly, individuals in community-centered cultures often report a deep, calming sense of fulfillment even when personal goals are modest. Helping neighbors, teaching children, tending communal spaces, these small contributions quietly shape identity and offer purpose that is steady, resilient, and deeply rooted. Purpose in this sense is not loud or individualistic. It grows softly through collaboration, care, and shared effort. Even a small gesture that strengthens bonds can generate profound inner satisfaction, activating the brain's reward systems in a calm, balanced way. This perspective reminds us that meaning is often relational. Life may feel more significant when understood as part of a larger whole, a quiet tapestry of connections, where each thread, no matter how small, contributes to the beauty of the pattern. Listening deeply to others can create unexpected fulfillment. There is a quiet kind of purpose in simply paying attention. When someone listens with patience and care, without rushing to speak or judge, they create a gentle space for connection that is deeply meaningful. Psychologists have found that attentive listening strengthens social bonds, fosters empathy, and activates emotional reward centers in the brain. The act itself, giving presence and understanding, quietly affirms value, both for the listener and the person being heard. Interestingly, this fulfillment often appears unexpectedly. One might begin listening out of habit or necessity, only to discover a calm sense of significance emerging. Moments of deep attention allow insights, gratitude, and shared understanding to take root. The mind recognizes contribution, even when no grand gestures are made. Listening also softens internal noise. By focusing outward, anxiety and self-doubt can fade temporarily, creating a meditative clarity that feels gentle yet profound. In these quiet exchanges, purpose is discovered in the subtle realization that human connection matters, and that one's presence can ease another's journey. Purpose, therefore, does not always require action or achievement. Sometimes it whispers softly through presence, attention, and care, revealing that even listening can be an act of meaning. Some people discover purpose through hardship. Purpose does not always arrive in comfort. For many, it quietly emerges in response to challenges, struggles, or moments of deep uncertainty. Hardship often draws attention inward, prompting reflection and subtle reassessment of priorities. Psychologists observe that difficult experiences, while uncomfortable, can awaken awareness of what truly matters. Facing illness, loss, or personal setbacks often encourages people to look beyond superficial goals and consider the deeper significance of their actions. Through this process, a sense of purpose may slowly crystallize. Interestingly, hardship can also cultivate empathy. People who have experienced suffering often find meaning in supporting others facing similar struggles. This gentle shift outward can create a quiet but powerful sense of value and connection. Purpose, in these moments, is less about personal gain and more about contribution and resilience. The mind also tends to integrate lessons from adversity over time. Initial discomfort gradually softens into understanding and insight. Memories that once caused pain can become reminders of strength, courage, and the importance of meaningful action. In this way, purpose is not always found in ease or comfort. Sometimes it emerges softly through challenge, like light breaking slowly through clouds, teaching the mind that even in difficulty, life can hold quiet, enduring significance. Adversity sometimes reshapes priorities more clearly than success. Life's challenges have a quiet way of revealing what truly matters. While success can be exciting, It often comes with noise, recognition, comparisons, and external pressures. Adversity, on the other hand, gently strips away distractions, leaving space to notice what is essential. Psychologists have observed that people who face setbacks or difficult circumstances often reevaluate their values. Relationships, kindness, health, and personal growth frequently rise in importance. In these moments, purpose may appear quietly, almost unannounced, as priorities settle into clearer focus. Interestingly, adversity can accelerate self-awareness. A sudden change, loss, or obstacle often forces reflection. What once seemed urgent may fade in significance. The mind begins to notice which actions, connections, or goals align with deeper meaning rather than fleeting desire. This process does not happen overnight. It unfolds gradually in subtle realizations. A decision to spend more time with loved ones, a gentle shift toward helping others, or a renewed interest in personal passions. Each small choice reinforces a sense of significance, building purpose over time. Sometimes, purpose emerges not from the victories we celebrate, but from the quiet resilience cultivated during hardship. In navigating difficulty, life softly reminds us what truly matters, and the mind listens. Purposeful thinking reduces feelings of emptiness. Many people drift through life at times feeling a subtle emptiness, as though something is missing, even when all external needs are met. Psychologists suggest that this sensation often arises when life lacks a sense of purpose or meaningful direction. Purposeful thinking, however, can gently soften this emptiness. When the mind reflects on actions, values, and intentions, on why small efforts matter, it begins to create a quiet narrative that connects daily life to something larger. Even minor acts, like helping someone or practicing a craft, can ripple inward, providing the mind with a sense of significance. Interestingly, this effect is subtle. Purpose does not shout. It whispers. Focusing on meaningful routines or gentle long-term goals quietly fills the internal gaps that restlessness sometimes creates. The mind begins to notice that each choice, however small, contributes to a larger story. Over time, people who practice purposeful thinking report feeling steadier, calmer, and more satisfied. The quiet integration of daily experiences with personal values reduces internal disorientation. Life feels less like wandering and more like following a gentle current. Purpose, then, is not only about achieving milestones. It is about softly connecting each moment to what matters, slowly transforming emptiness into a calm, enduring sense of significance. Many cultures connect purpose with community rather than individuality. Across time and geography, humans have often found meaning not in personal achievement alone, but in connection with others. In many cultures, purpose is woven through relationships, shared responsibilities, and contributions to the collective well-being. Anthropologists and psychologists observe that belonging to a community gives life rhythm and context. Participating in group activities, rituals, or shared work provides subtle signals of value and significance. These social bonds act like gentle anchors, reminding the mind that one's actions ripple beyond the self. Interestingly, individuals in community-centered cultures often report a deep, calming sense of fulfillment even when personal goals are modest. Helping neighbors, teaching children, tending communal spaces, these small contributions quietly shape identity and offer purpose that is steady, resilient, and deeply rooted. Purpose in this sense is not loud or individualistic. It grows softly through collaboration, care, and shared effort. Even a small gesture that strengthens bonds can generate profound inner satisfaction, activating the brain's reward systems in a calm, balanced way. This perspective reminds us that meaning is often relational. Life may feel more significant when understood as part of a larger whole, a quiet tapestry of connections, where each thread, no matter how small, contributes to the beauty of the pattern. Listening deeply to others can create unexpected fulfillment. There is a quiet kind of purpose in simply paying attention. When someone listens with patience and care, without rushing to speak or judge, they create a gentle space for connection that is deeply meaningful. Psychologists have found that attentive listening strengthens social bonds, fosters empathy, and activates emotional reward centers in the brain. The act itself, giving presence and understanding, quietly affirms value, both for the listener and the person being heard. Interestingly, this fulfillment often appears unexpectedly. One might begin listening out of habit or necessity, only to discover a calm sense of significance emerging. Moments of deep attention allow insights, gratitude, and shared understanding to take root. The mind recognizes contribution, even when no grand gestures are made. Listening also softens internal noise. By focusing outward, anxiety and self-doubt can fade temporarily, creating a meditative clarity that feels gentle yet profound. In these quiet exchanges, purpose is discovered in the subtle realization that human connection matters, and that one's presence can ease another's journey. Purpose, therefore, does not always require action or achievement. Sometimes it whispers softly through presence, attention, and care, revealing that even listening can be an act of meaning. Purpose often hides inside repeated interests. Sometimes purpose is not found in a single grand moment, but in the quiet persistence of what naturally draws our attention. Repeated interests, hobbies, or curiosities can gently shape a sense of meaning over time. Psychologists note that the brain subtly strengthens pathways connected to activities that bring repeated satisfaction or engagement. Returning again and again to a skill, craft, or topic allows identity to form around what feels significant, even if the activity seems small or ordinary. Interestingly, these repeated interests often begin as gentle curiosity. A person may revisit reading, music, painting, or even thoughtful reflection without realizing the emotional value it provides. Slowly, patterns emerge. Preferences, strengths, and a sense of alignment with personal values crystallize quietly. This slow accumulation of experience and attention provides emotional stability. The mind learns that engagement in familiar interests not only brings comfort but also contributes to identity, confidence, and purpose. Life begins to feel less random and more anchored. Purpose, then, is often hidden in the soft rhythm of repetition. It whispers in the steady return to what we love, revealing meaning not as a sudden revelation, but as a patient unfolding of what we consistently care about. Reflection before bed can strengthen long-term motivation. Evenings often bring a quiet stillness that encourages the mind to slow down. During this gentle pause, reflection can subtly guide purpose and strengthen motivation over time. Psychologists and sleep researchers observe that when people spend a few minutes before sleep considering their day, their actions, or small achievements, the brain begins to integrate experiences into coherent patterns. This quiet mental review allows insights to emerge that were overlooked during the busyness of the day. Reflecting on successes, challenges, or acts of kindness helps the mind connect behavior to values. This process fosters a soft, persistent awareness of purpose, an understanding that today's small choices contribute to larger, meaningful goals. The effect is cumulative. Night after night, these moments of reflection slowly shape identity, priorities, and long-term motivation. Interestingly, even brief reflection can calm the nervous system. It can reduce anxiety about unfinished tasks or uncertainties about the future, allowing the mind to rest while simultaneously reinforcing a gentle sense of direction. In this way, bedtime reflection does more than prepare the mind for sleep. It nurtures purpose quietly, helping the mind recognize meaning in both ordinary and extraordinary experiences, guiding the next day with subtle clarity. Many people underestimate how meaningful ordinary kindness becomes. Often, we imagine that purpose must appear through dramatic achievements or extraordinary acts. Yet research and quiet observation suggest that small gestures of kindness quietly shape meaning in life, even when they seem minor at the moment. Holding a door, offering a gentle smile, sending a thoughtful message, or helping someone carry a load may feel insignificant. But the mind notices these actions in subtle ways. Psychologists note that repeated acts of ordinary kindness strengthen emotional satisfaction and a sense of connection. Each act leaves a faint, enduring imprint on identity, a soft confirmation that one's presence matters in the world. Interestingly, these small gestures often ripple outward. Helping one person can improve their mood, which may then influence others, creating a quiet chain of positive effects. Even without recognition, the giver's mind receives gentle signals of purpose and usefulness. Meaning, therefore, is not always found in grand achievements. Sometimes it resides in the gentle rhythm of daily care and attention to others. Ordinary kindness, practiced consistently, becomes a quiet source of significance, like soft light spreading slowly through a calm morning. Purpose does not always require recognition. Many people assume that for actions to be meaningful, someone must notice or praise them. Yet purpose often exists quietly, independent of acknowledgement. True significance is frequently internal, rooted in the subtle understanding that one's choices matter. Psychologists observe that when people act with care, integrity, or consistency, the brain receives gentle signals of reward, even if no one else is watching. These small moments, helping a friend, tending to a personal project, or quietly supporting a loved one, can cultivate deep satisfaction and a sense of contribution. Interestingly, this internal awareness of value can be more enduring than external validation. Recognition may bring excitement or fleeting pride, but the calm, steady feeling of knowing that your actions align with your values is quietly sustaining. It strengthens emotional resilience, nurtures identity, and anchors purpose in ways that applause cannot. Purpose, therefore, often whispers rather than shouts. It thrives in patience, persistence, and attentive action. One can live a life filled with meaning without ever seeking notice, simply by noticing the quiet impact of one's own choices, like a soft current beneath the surface of a still lake. Listening deeply to others can create unexpected fulfillment. There is a quiet kind of purpose in simply paying attention. When someone listens with patience and care, without rushing to speak or judge, they create a gentle space for connection that is deeply meaningful. Psychologists have found that attentive listening strengthens social bonds, fosters empathy, and activates emotional reward centers in the brain. The act itself, giving presence and understanding, quietly affirms value, both for the listener and the person being heard. Interestingly, this fulfillment often appears unexpectedly. One might begin listening out of habit or necessity, only to discover a calm sense of significance emerging. Moments of deep attention allow insights, gratitude, and shared understanding to take root. The mind recognizes contribution, even when no grand gestures are made. Listening also softens internal noise. By focusing outward, anxiety and self-doubt can fade temporarily, creating a meditative clarity that feels gentle yet profound. In these quiet exchanges, purpose is discovered in the subtle realization that human connection matters, and that one's presence can ease another's journey. Purpose, therefore, does not always require action or achievement. Sometimes it whispers softly through presence, attention, and care, revealing that even listening can be an act of meaning. Purpose often hides inside repeated interests. Sometimes purpose is not found in a single grand moment, but in the quiet persistence of what naturally draws our attention. Repeated interests, hobbies, or curiosities can gently shape a sense of meaning over time. Psychologists note that the brain subtly strengthens pathways connected to activities that bring repeated satisfaction or engagement. Returning again and again to a skill, craft, or topic allows identity to form around what feels significant, even if the activity seems small or ordinary. Interestingly, these repeated interests often begin as gentle curiosity. A person may revisit reading, music, painting, or even thoughtful reflection without realizing the emotional value it provides. Slowly, patterns emerge. Preferences, strengths, and a sense of alignment with personal values crystallize quietly. This slow accumulation of experience and attention provides emotional stability. The mind learns that engagement in familiar interests not only brings comfort but also contributes to identity, confidence, and purpose. Life begins to feel less random and more anchored. Purpose, then, is often hidden in the soft rhythm of repetition. It whispers in the steady return to what we love, revealing meaning not as a sudden revelation, but as a patient unfolding of what we consistently care about. Reflection before bed can strengthen long-term motivation. Evenings often bring a quiet stillness that encourages the mind to slow down. During this gentle pause, reflection can subtly guide purpose and strengthen motivation over time. Psychologists and sleep researchers observe that when people spend a few minutes before sleep considering their day, their actions, or small achievements, the brain begins to integrate experiences into coherent patterns. This quiet mental review allows insights to emerge that were overlooked during the busyness of the day. Reflecting on successes, challenges, or acts of kindness helps the mind connect behavior to values. This process fosters a soft, persistent awareness of purpose, an understanding that today's small choices contribute to larger, meaningful goals. The effect is cumulative. Night after night, these moments of reflection slowly shape identity, priorities, and long-term motivation. Interestingly, even brief reflection can calm the nervous system. It can reduce anxiety about unfinished tasks or uncertainties about the future, allowing the mind to rest while simultaneously reinforcing a gentle sense of direction. In this way, bedtime reflection does more than prepare the mind for sleep. It nurtures purpose quietly, helping the mind recognize meaning in both ordinary and extraordinary experiences, guiding the next day with subtle clarity. Many people underestimate how meaningful ordinary kindness becomes. Often, we imagine that purpose must appear through dramatic achievements or extraordinary acts. Yet research and quiet observation suggest that small gestures of kindness quietly shape meaning in life, even when they seem minor at the moment. Holding a door, offering a gentle smile, sending a thoughtful message, or helping someone carry a load may feel insignificant. But the mind notices these actions in subtle ways. Psychologists note that repeated acts of ordinary kindness strengthen emotional satisfaction and a sense of connection. Each act leaves a faint, enduring imprint on identity, a soft confirmation that one's presence matters in the world. Interestingly, these small gestures often ripple outward. Helping one person can improve their mood, which may then influence others, creating a quiet chain of positive effects. Even without recognition, the giver's mind receives gentle signals of purpose and usefulness. Meaning, therefore, is not always found in grand achievements. Sometimes it resides in the gentle rhythm of daily care and attention to others. Ordinary kindness, practiced consistently, becomes a quiet source of significance, like soft light spreading slowly through a calm morning. Purpose does not always require recognition. Many people assume that for actions to be meaningful, someone must notice or praise them. Yet purpose often exists quietly, independent of acknowledgement. True significance is frequently internal, rooted in the subtle understanding that one's choices matter. Psychologists observe that when people act with care, integrity, or consistency, the brain receives gentle signals of reward, even if no one else is watching. These small moments, helping a friend, tending to a personal project, or quietly supporting a loved one, can cultivate deep satisfaction and a sense of contribution. Interestingly, this internal awareness of value can be more enduring than external validation. Recognition may bring excitement or fleeting pride, but the calm, steady feeling of knowing that your actions align with your values is quietly sustaining. It strengthens emotional resilience, nurtures identity, and anchors purpose in ways that applause cannot. Purpose, therefore, often whispers rather than shouts. It thrives in patience, persistence, and attentive action. One can live a life filled with meaning without ever seeking notice, simply by noticing the quiet impact of one's own choices, like a soft current beneath the surface of a still lake. Nature often inspires a sense of purpose. Spending time in natural surroundings, forests, rivers, mountains, or even a small garden, can quietly foster purpose. There is something deeply calming about observing the rhythm of life unfolding beyond human control. Psychologists note that connecting with nature activates reflection and mindfulness, encouraging the mind to slow down. The patterns of growth, cycles of change, and resilience in plants and animals provide subtle reminders of continuity and interconnection. Observing these rhythms can awaken a gentle awareness of one's place in the larger world. Interestingly, even brief moments outdoors, feeling a breeze, watching sunlight filter through leaves, or listening to birdsong, can trigger a sense of calm significance. The mind often notices patterns of order, resilience, and interconnectedness, reinforcing feelings of contribution, curiosity, and alignment with life. Nature also encourages outward attention, drawing focus away from internal stress or distraction. This outward focus fosters empathy, reflection, and subtle appreciation, softening anxiety while nurturing awareness of what is meaningful. In this way, purpose is sometimes discovered not through action alone, but through quiet observation. Nature whispers lessons about continuity, patience, and balance, guiding the mind to recognize meaning in both the world and oneself. Daily reflection can reveal hidden patterns of meaning. Often, life feels like a series of disconnected moments. Tasks, conversations, and decisions may seem random or repetitive. Yet, when the mind slows, subtle patterns of meaning quietly emerge. Psychologists have found that taking time to reflect on daily experiences, even for a few minutes, helps the brain connect small actions to values, intentions, and long-term goals. Over time, repeated reflection allows purpose to crystallize, not through dramatic insight, but through steady accumulation of awareness. Interestingly, these patterns are often invisible in the moment. Helping someone, completing a task, or pursuing a small personal goal may feel ordinary. But when revisited in thought, the mind begins to notice recurring themes. What feels fulfilling, what aligns with personal values, and what contributes to a sense of identity. This quiet awareness also promotes emotional calm. By noticing meaningful connections, the mind reduces anxiety, uncertainty, and the feeling of drifting aimlessly. Life begins to feel softer, steadier, and more coherent. Purpose, therefore, is often hidden in the gentle pause of reflection. It emerges slowly, like dawn light spreading across a quiet landscape, revealing the subtle beauty woven into ordinary moments. Gratitude can strengthen a sense of purpose. Purpose often grows quietly when we notice what we already have, rather than chasing what feels missing. Practicing gratitude, even for small things, subtly shifts the mind toward awareness of meaningful connections and contributions. Psychologists observe that reflecting on moments of kindness, support, or personal achievement activates neural pathways associated with well-being and emotional stability. Gratitude gently reinforces the sense that life has significance, even in everyday routines. Interestingly, gratitude does not need to be dramatic or elaborate. Noticing a friend's smile, appreciating a shared meal, or feeling calm during a quiet walk can all foster a soft, enduring sense of purpose. Over time, these small acknowledgments accumulate, creating a mental framework that quietly anchors identity and values. The practice also reduces the intensity of stress and internal noise. By gently shifting focus outward, the mind softens its cycles of worry or comparison, allowing purpose to emerge naturally from ordinary experiences. In this way, gratitude serves as a gentle companion to purpose. It reveals meaning already present, rather than demanding it be discovered, reminding the mind that significance often resides in noticing the small, soft threads that weave life together. Purpose often emerges through small acts of consistency. Life can feel chaotic, with countless tasks, thoughts, and responsibilities swirling through the mind. Yet psychologists have found that purpose frequently grows from quiet, repeated actions rather than sudden achievements. Consistency in small tasks, showing up for work, tending to loved ones, practicing a skill, or simply maintaining a routine, slowly builds a sense of identity and reliability. The brain begins to link these repeated behaviors with satisfaction, meaning, and emotional stability. Interestingly, these acts rarely feel monumental in the moment. A daily walk, preparing meals, or reading quietly may seem ordinary, yet over time they form a subtle rhythm that shapes life's structure. Purpose gradually becomes entwined with these small patterns, giving even mundane tasks an underlying significance. Consistency also fosters patience and calm. The mind notices the gentle accumulation of effort, reducing the need for constant excitement or external validation. Life begins to feel steady, aligned, and quietly meaningful. In this way, purpose often whispers through repetition. It is not a single grand revelation, but a soft, persistent unfolding, a quiet testament to the value of showing up day after day. Nature walks can quiet the mind and reveal purpose. Spending time in nature has a gentle way of helping the mind notice what is meaningful. Walking through trees, along a river, or even around a quiet garden invites attention outward, slowing the constant chatter of thoughts. Psychologists have observed that being in natural settings encourages reflection and mindfulness. Patterns of growth, change, and resilience in the environment mirror life itself, providing subtle cues about continuity and connection. This quiet observation often sparks insights about personal priorities, values, or contributions, revealing purpose in ways that are soft but lasting. Interestingly, even short moments outdoors, listening to birdsong, feeling the breeze, or observing sunlight on leaves, can activate neural pathways associated with calm and clarity. The mind begins to notice how small actions, choices, and attention to others or oneself fit into a larger context. Nature also fosters patience. Trees do not hurry, rivers flow steadily, and seasons unfold slowly. This rhythm encourages the mind to trust gradual growth, both in the environment and within oneself. In this way, purpose is often discovered not through forceful effort or grand plans, but through quiet observation, gentle presence, and attunement to the natural world around us. Purpose often appears through reflection on past experiences. Looking back on life can quietly reveal patterns that were invisible in the moment. Experiences, choices, and even mistakes sometimes form a subtle map, guiding the mind toward meaning and direction. Psychologists note that reflecting on past events allows the brain to integrate memories with values and lessons learned. Acts that seemed ordinary at the time, helping someone, pursuing a hobby, or persevering through difficulty, can later reveal themselves as threads of purpose woven through life. Interestingly, this reflection does not require drama or grand achievements. Even small daily actions, when observed over months or years, begin to form patterns. The mind notices which behaviors bring fulfillment, calm, or connection, gently shaping a sense of identity and significance. Reflection also fosters resilience. Recognizing that challenges were overcome, or that small acts had meaningful impact, reinforces confidence and emotional stability. Life begins to feel less random, more coherent, and quietly purposeful. Purpose, then, often whispers in hindsight. It emerges softly when the mind pauses to notice the subtle constellations of action, choice, and care that quietly form the story of a meaningful life. Purpose can grow through learning new skills. Learning something new, whether a language, a musical instrument, a craft, or a mental exercise, can quietly strengthen a sense of purpose. The process itself, not just the outcome, provides subtle cues that life is meaningful and direction is present. Psychologists observe that engaging in new skills activates brain regions associated with focus, reward, and mastery. Each small improvement signals progress, creating gentle satisfaction and reinforcing identity. Over time, repeated practice contributes to a soft, enduring sense of contribution and growth. Interestingly, the benefits are often internal rather than external. You may never perform publicly or receive recognition, yet the mind recognizes the quiet development of competence and persistence. These small gains gradually anchor purpose, reminding the individual that their attention, effort, and curiosity have value. Learning also encourages patience. Mastery unfolds slowly, requiring repeated practice and reflection. This slow accumulation mirrors the way purpose itself grows, quietly, persistently, and often unnoticed until patterns emerge over time. In this way, purpose is nurtured not only by achievement but by the gentle act of learning itself, revealing that progress, curiosity, and consistency can quietly illuminate meaning in everyday life. Acts of forgiveness can deepen a sense of purpose. Holding on to resentment or past hurts can quietly weigh down the mind, creating stress and a subtle sense of disconnection. Yet practicing forgiveness, toward oneself or others, often opens space for meaning and emotional calm. Psychologists note that forgiving does not necessarily erase what happened, but it softens the emotional intensity attached to memories. This gentle release allows the mind to focus on constructive actions, relationships, and values rather than lingering in regret or anger. Purpose emerges quietly when attention shifts from past grievances to the present possibilities of care, contribution, and understanding. Interestingly, forgiveness is often more beneficial internally than externally. While others may never acknowledge it, the act itself strengthens neural pathways associated with emotional regulation, empathy, and calm. The mind begins to recognize that one can live with integrity and meaning even in imperfect circumstances. Small gestures, letting go of minor irritations, offering understanding, or reframing past experiences, slowly reinforce identity and values. Over time, these soft practices accumulate, providing an enduring sense of significance and direction. Purpose, therefore, can whisper through forgiveness, teaching the mind that releasing what cannot be changed often clears space for what truly matters. Daily small wins quietly build purpose. Purpose often grows not from monumental achievements, but from the accumulation of small, consistent successes. Completing a task, keeping a promise, or even finishing a simple chore can create a subtle sense of accomplishment that the mind quietly recognizes. Psychologists observe that these micro-wins activate reward pathways in the brain, reinforcing a gentle sense of efficacy and self-worth. Over time, the repetition of small wins strengthens identity and gives structure to life, allowing purpose to emerge naturally from ordinary routines. Interestingly, the significance of these moments is often invisible to others. You may feel that a single completed task is minor, yet the mind perceives its contribution to long-term growth, stability, and meaning. Even small achievements act as soft anchors, guiding attention and effort toward continued engagement with life. Daily wins also calm internal anxiety. By recognizing progress, the brain reduces feelings of aimlessness or restlessness. Purpose slowly consolidates not in dramatic leaps, but in steady, mindful attention to what can be done today. Each small act a quiet thread weaving the fabric of significance. In this way, purpose whispers in the rhythm of everyday life, appearing gently in the small victories we often overlook. Journaling thoughts can reveal hidden purpose. Writing down thoughts, feelings, and experiences can quietly illuminate what truly matters. Even brief journaling sessions allow the mind to notice patterns, values, and subtle motivations that often go unnoticed during the rush of daily life. Psychologists note that the act of externalizing internal experiences helps the brain organize emotions, reflect on decisions, and connect actions to long-term goals. Over time, these reflections strengthen self-awareness and create a gentle sense of direction. Interestingly, journals do not need to be perfect or profound. A simple note about what brought joy, what challenged you, or what you learned today is enough to cultivate awareness of meaningful patterns. The mind begins to recognize recurring sources of satisfaction and contribution, slowly building a soft sense of purpose. Journaling also calms the nervous system. By placing thoughts on paper, the mind can release internal tension and anxiety, creating mental space for reflection and clarity. Life begins to feel more coherent, and ordinary moments gain gentle significance. Purpose, therefore, often emerges in the quiet practice of observation and writing, whispering softly through reflection and patience, revealing meaning in both the everyday and the extraordinary. Helping others quietly reinforces life's meaning. Even small acts of assistance, holding a door, offering guidance, or simply listening, can nurture a subtle sense of purpose. The mind naturally notices when actions have a positive effect on someone else, creating gentle satisfaction that quietly accumulates over time. Psychologists observe that helping others activates neural pathways associated with reward, empathy, and connection. These soft internal signals strengthen identity and reinforce the understanding that life has significance beyond personal concerns. Interestingly, the impact of helping is often felt inwardly rather than externally. Recognition may never arrive, yet the act itself fosters emotional calm and self-worth. Consistently supporting others, even in minor ways, slowly builds a steady rhythm of meaning that the brain perceives as purposeful living. These small contributions also reduce stress. Focusing outward softens the mind's repetitive worries, providing a gentle shift from self-centered anxiety toward constructive, connected awareness. Purpose, therefore, does not always require grand gestures. It often whispers softly through repeated, attentive care for others, a quiet acknowledgement that one's presence and actions, however small, ripple meaningfully through the world. Purpose can be found in quiet consistency. Life often feels unpredictable, with challenges, distractions, and fleeting excitement. Yet purpose frequently grows quietly through consistent, repeated actions. Showing up, completing small tasks, and maintaining routines create subtle stability that the mind perceives as meaningful. Psychologists note that consistent behavior strengthens emotional resilience and identity. When daily actions align with personal values, even in small ways, the brain recognizes contribution and reliability. Over time, this gentle rhythm fosters a calm, enduring sense of purpose. Interestingly, consistency does not require recognition or dramatic outcomes. Preparing meals, caring for a pet, tending a garden, or maintaining a practice of reflection all provide slow but steady reinforcement of meaning. The mind notices patterns, even when external rewards are absent. Consistency also soothes anxiety. Repetition provides structure, reduces uncertainty, and helps the mind trust that actions have lasting value. Life begins to feel connected, coherent, and quietly significant. Purpose, then, often whispers through the gentle rhythm of steady engagement. It grows not in leaps, but in the patient unfolding of attention and care over time. Reflecting on small achievements reinforces purpose. Even minor accomplishments, completing a task, solving a problem, or helping someone, quietly contribute to a sense of meaning. When the mind notices these small wins, it reinforces identity, self-worth, and purpose in subtle ways. Psychologists observe that reflection strengthens this effect. Pausing to acknowledge what went well, what was learned, or how one contributed allows the brain to connect everyday actions to long-term goals. Over time, these gentle reflections accumulate, creating a steady awareness of significance. Interestingly, these achievements often feel ordinary in the moment. Preparing a meal, finishing a work task, or sharing a thoughtful word may seem insignificant, yet the mind quietly recognizes their contribution to life's broader pattern. Reflection also fosters emotional calm. By observing progress, the brain softens internal pressure, reducing anxiety and restlessness. Life feels more coherent, and purpose emerges naturally through awareness of consistent effort. Purpose, therefore, can be nurtured in the quiet acknowledgement of small victories. It whispers softly through reflection, reminding the mind that meaning often lives in ordinary moments and subtle accomplishments. Listening to others deepens connection and purpose. There is a gentle power in attentive listening. When someone speaks and we offer quiet, patient attention, the mind notices subtle connections forming, and purpose quietly emerges. Psychologists note that listening strengthens social bonds and activates emotional reward pathways in the brain. Even without speaking, the act of being present fosters empathy, understanding, and a sense of contribution, all soft signals that life has meaning. Interestingly, listening does not require grand gestures or dramatic conversations. A calm presence during a friend's story, a patient ear for a colleague, or gentle attention to a family member can quietly nurture purpose. These small acts often ripple outward, improving relationships and creating an unseen network of significance. Listening also helps reduce internal noise. Focusing outward diminishes self-centered worries and repetitive thoughts, allowing the mind to rest while simultaneously recognizing value. Over time, this quiet engagement strengthens identity and emotional resilience. Purpose, therefore, often whispers through simple presence. By listening deeply, life becomes more connected, coherent, and softly significant, reminding us that meaning sometimes lives in the gentle art of attention. Purpose can grow from mindful observation. Mindful observation, paying gentle attention to surroundings, thoughts, or emotions, can quietly reveal meaning in everyday life. By noticing details without judgment, the mind begins to see patterns and connections that often go unnoticed. Psychologists observe that mindfulness strengthens self-awareness and emotional regulation. When attention rests on subtle experiences, the texture of a leaf, the rhythm of breath, or the nuances of a conversation, the brain recognizes engagement, significance, and connection. Over time, these small moments cultivate a soft, enduring sense of purpose. Interestingly, mindful observation does not require meditation for hours or complex rituals. Even a few quiet minutes noticing nature, a task, or one's own thoughts can provide insights into values, priorities, and contributions. These gentle realizations gradually anchor life in meaning. Mindfulness also calms internal chatter. By focusing outward or simply observing without judgment, stress and anxiety diminish, creating mental space for reflection and clarity. Life begins to feel coherent, connected, and softly purposeful. Purpose, then, often whispers through quiet attention. It grows not through force or urgency, but through the gentle act of noticing, allowing the mind to discover meaning hidden in ordinary experiences. Purpose often emerges through helping others. Helping others, even in small ways, quietly reinforces a sense of meaning. It could be making a cup of tea for a family member, offering a kind word to a coworker, or simply listening to a friend in need. These subtle actions signal to the mind that one's presence matters. Psychologists observe that acts of assistance activate emotional and reward pathways, creating a gentle sense of satisfaction and connection. Unlike recognition or fame, this feeling is internal, a soft, enduring acknowledgement that life has significance. Interestingly, the impact of helping often extends beyond the immediate moment. A simple gesture can ripple outward, influencing others and creating connections that quietly amplify purpose over time. Even when unnoticed, these small acts build a rhythm of meaning that the brain perceives as steady and reassuring. Helping also reduces internal stress. Focusing outward on contribution shifts attention away from worries or self-centered thoughts, calming the mind and nurturing emotional resilience. Purpose, therefore, often whispers in everyday acts of care. By offering gentle assistance, life becomes more connected, coherent, and softly significant, a quiet testament to the power of presence and empathy. Purpose can grow through learning from mistakes. Mistakes, though often uncomfortable, quietly guide the mind toward understanding and meaning. Each misstep provides subtle feedback about values, priorities, and personal growth. Psychologists note that reflecting gently on errors strengthens self-awareness and emotional resilience. Instead of focusing on failure, the mind begins to notice lessons, adjustments, and opportunities for improvement, small insights that gradually anchor purpose. Interestingly, mistakes do not need to be dramatic to matter. Forgetting a task, miscommunicating with someone, or struggling with a personal goal can reveal patterns about what truly matters, what aligns with identity, and where attention should be directed. Learning from mistakes also softens self-judgment over time. By approaching errors with patience and reflection, anxiety diminishes, and the mind experiences a calm sense of agency. Purpose slowly emerges as the brain integrates these lessons into ongoing behavior and understanding. Purpose, therefore, often whispers through imperfection. It is discovered not in avoiding errors, but in attending to them gently, allowing the mind to turn small setbacks into quiet guides for meaningful action. Quiet hobbies can foster a subtle sense of purpose. Engaging in hobbies, whether reading, painting, gardening, or solving puzzles, often nurtures purpose in gentle, almost imperceptible ways. These activities provide focus, repetition, and a connection to personal interest, allowing the mind to quietly recognize value and meaning. Psychologists note that hobbies stimulate reward and attention networks in the brain. Over time, consistent engagement in activities that bring joy or curiosity reinforces identity, encourages self-expression, and subtly strengthens life satisfaction. Interestingly, these hobbies do not require external recognition or achievement. The quiet act of practicing a skill, observing progress, or simply enjoying the process offers internal affirmation, building a sense of significance without fanfare. Hobbies also calm the nervous system. By engaging attention outward or into creative flow, they reduce mental noise, foster reflection, and cultivate mindfulness, all of which provide fertile ground for purpose to emerge naturally. Purpose, therefore, can whisper through the rhythm of quiet hobbies. It grows not from obligation or reward, but from attentive, repeated engagement that allows the mind to notice meaning in ordinary, joyful activities. Purpose can be strengthened through acts of kindness. Small, thoughtful gestures, smiling at a stranger, sending a note of appreciation, or helping someone with a task, quietly nurture a sense of purpose. The mind notices these actions, signaling that one's presence has positive effects on the world. Psychologists observe that consistent acts of kindness activate reward pathways and strengthen empathy, creating a soft, enduring sense of meaning. Unlike achievements that rely on recognition, these subtle contributions reinforce self-worth internally, forming a gentle, lasting sense of significance. Interestingly, kindness often ripples beyond the immediate act. A small gesture can influence others, encourage reciprocity, or inspire connection, amplifying the quiet sense of contribution over time. Even when unnoticed, the brain perceives the cumulative impact of thoughtful actions. Acts of kindness also calm internal tension. By focusing outward, attention shifts from worries or self-criticism, allowing reflection, mindfulness, and emotional balance to emerge. Purpose, therefore, often whispers in repeated, gentle acts of care. Meaning is cultivated in subtle moments of attention and thoughtfulness, quietly reminding the mind that life is significant in its connections with others. Finding purpose often involves understanding personal values. A quiet sense of purpose often emerges when we pay attention to what truly matters to us. Values like honesty, kindness, creativity, or curiosity act as gentle guides, helping the mind notice which actions, relationships, or goals feel meaningful. Psychologists note that reflecting on values strengthens identity and emotional coherence. When daily decisions align with what one deeply cares about, even in small ways, the brain receives subtle signals that life has significance, reinforcing calm satisfaction and clarity. Interestingly, discovering values does not require dramatic self-exploration. Moments of quiet reflection, journaling, or observing emotional responses can slowly reveal patterns that point toward meaningful direction. The mind gradually integrates these insights, creating a steady, internal sense of purpose. Aligning with values also reduces internal conflict. When actions harmonize with what matters, anxiety and indecision soften, and life begins to feel coherent and softly anchored. Purpose, therefore, often whispers through the quiet recognition of values. It emerges gently, guiding decisions and actions in ways that quietly strengthen meaning and connection in daily life. Purpose often emerges from small, mindful choices. Purpose does not always arrive through grand events or major achievements. Often, it grows quietly through small, mindful decisions made each day, choosing patience over frustration, generosity over indifference, or attentiveness over distraction. Psychologists observe that each mindful choice subtly reinforces the brain's perception of significance. Over time, these repeated decisions create a gentle pattern, quietly shaping identity, values, and a sense of direction. Even seemingly minor actions, like offering help, reflecting before speaking, or spending time intentionally, contribute to this internal sense of meaning. Interestingly, Purpose often strengthens when attention is given to the present moment. Mindful awareness allows the mind to notice the ripple effects of each action, how one's presence influences others, and how personal choices align with deeper values. These insights emerge gradually, like soft light spreading across a quiet landscape. Mindful choices also calm the nervous system, reducing anxiety and internal chaos. Life begins to feel coherent, connected, and quietly purposeful. Purpose, therefore, whispers in the small, intentional acts we perform daily. It grows slowly, patiently, and consistently, reminding the mind that even the quietest choices carry meaning. Purpose can arise from accepting life's small limitations. Sometimes meaning emerges quietly through acceptance rather than achievement. Recognizing the limits of time, energy, or control allows the mind to focus gently on what truly matters, rather than chasing endless possibilities. Psychologists note that acceptance reduces internal struggle and fosters emotional balance. When the mind lets go of unrealistic expectations, attention shifts toward realistic, meaningful actions. Even small adjustments, like pacing oneself, prioritizing relationships, or simplifying routines, quietly reinforce purpose. Interestingly, accepting limitations does not equate to passivity. Instead, it allows life to unfold with clarity and calm, making each deliberate choice feel more significant. The mind begins to notice subtle impacts of thoughtful actions, which slowly anchor meaning in everyday life. Acceptance also softens stress and frustration. Life begins to feel more coherent, steady, and connected, with purpose emerging naturally from thoughtful engagement rather than relentless striving. Purpose, therefore, often whispers through gentle acknowledgement of limits. By embracing what cannot be controlled, the mind creates space for meaningful presence, connection, and intentional living. Reflection on past challenges can reveal hidden purpose. Looking back on difficulties often reveals meaning that was invisible in the moment. Struggles, mistakes, and setbacks quietly shape understanding of one's values, priorities, and strengths. Psychologists observe that reflecting on past challenges helps the brain integrate experiences, fostering emotional resilience and self-awareness. By noticing how obstacles were overcome or lessons learned from hardship, the mind slowly uncovers patterns that guide future choices. Interestingly, this insight often arrives gently, without dramatic revelation. A challenge that once felt frustrating or unfair may, in hindsight, appear as a teacher, revealing patience, empathy, or persistence that quietly forms the backbone of purpose. Reflection also calms internal tension. Observing growth over time reduces anxiety and self-doubt, creating mental space for intentional living. Life begins to feel connected, coherent, and softly meaningful. Purpose, therefore, often whispers through the gentle review of experiences. By attending to what has shaped us, the mind discovers subtle guidance, quietly illuminating the path forward with clarity and significance. Purpose can be nurtured through small, daily rituals. Daily rituals, whether making a morning cup of tea, stretching gently, or taking a quiet walk, can quietly reinforce a sense of meaning. These repeated actions create rhythm, structure, and subtle patterns that the mind perceives as purposeful. Psychologists observe that rituals, even simple ones, anchor attention and intention. Over time, the brain associates these repeated behaviors with calm, satisfaction, and alignment with personal values. This quiet reinforcement strengthens identity and nurtures a soft, enduring sense of purpose. Interestingly, rituals do not need to be elaborate or observed by others. The simple act of doing something intentionally, consistently, and with awareness is enough to provide the mind with signals of significance. Even minor routines can slowly accumulate into a larger framework of meaning. Rituals also calm internal noise. The gentle predictability and mindfulness embedded in these acts soothe anxiety and provide stability, allowing the mind to rest while simultaneously reinforcing a quiet sense of direction. Purpose, therefore, often whispers through repeated, intentional routines. It grows softly and patiently, reminding the mind that significance can be cultivated in ordinary, everyday moments. Purpose often emerges through connection with others. Human beings are naturally social, and a quiet sense of meaning often grows through relationships. Sharing time, attention, or care with others fosters subtle feelings of significance that the mind recognizes gently over time. Psychologists note that even small, consistent acts of connection, listening, helping, or simply being present, activate neural pathways linked to reward, empathy, and emotional fulfillment. These internal signals quietly reinforce identity and a sense of contribution, building purpose without needing recognition or applause. Interestingly, connection does not require grand gestures. A calm conversation, a shared laugh, or a small act of kindness can ripple through relationships, subtly shaping a sense of coherence and belonging. The mind notices these patterns, strengthening emotional stability and softening internal stress. Purpose, therefore, often whispers through connection. Life feels more meaningful when attention extends outward, revealing that even simple interactions carry weight and significance, quietly weaving the mind into the larger fabric of human experience. Reflection on personal growth nurtures purpose. Observing how we evolve over time, emotionally, mentally, or even skill-wise, can quietly strengthen a sense of purpose. Growth, no matter how gradual, signals that life is moving forward in meaningful ways. Psychologists note that reflecting on personal progress helps the brain integrate experiences, reinforcing identity and values. Recognizing small improvements, like better patience, increased understanding, or learning new skills, provides subtle internal validation that life is significant. Interestingly, growth often feels imperceptible in the moment. Only when the mind pauses to look back do the gentle patterns of change become visible. These realizations quietly anchor purpose, demonstrating that each day, small choices accumulate into meaningful development. Reflection on growth also calms the mind. Observing progress reduces anxiety, self-doubt, and the pressure of constant achievement, creating mental space for intentional action and mindful living. Purpose, therefore, often whispers through awareness of personal evolution. By gently noticing how life and self are changing, the mind uncovers subtle yet enduring meaning woven into the fabric of daily existence. Purpose can be cultivated through gentle curiosity. Curiosity, even in small doses, quietly nurtures purpose. Asking questions, exploring new ideas, or noticing details in everyday life invites the mind to engage with meaning in subtle ways. Psychologists observe that curiosity strengthens attention, learning, and reflection. When we follow small threads of interest, reading a new topic, observing nature, or experimenting with a skill, the brain begins to recognize patterns of engagement and satisfaction. Over time, these patterns quietly reinforce identity and a sense of significance. Interestingly, curiosity does not need to be urgent or dramatic. Even soft, playful wondering, like noticing the sound of wind, the shape of a leaf, or a gentle observation about a conversation, can awaken subtle insights about values, priorities, and purpose. Curiosity also calms mental chatter. By focusing attention outward or into exploration, stress and internal noise diminish, leaving space for reflection and clarity. Life begins to feel interconnected, meaningful, and softly purposeful. Purpose, therefore, often whispers through gentle curiosity. By noticing, exploring, and reflecting in small ways, the mind slowly discovers significance hidden in ordinary experiences. Quiet reflection in the evening strengthens purpose. As night gently settles and the world quiets, the mind naturally begins to slow. Evening reflection is a subtle, almost imperceptible practice that can nurture purpose over time. Sitting quietly, thinking gently about the events of the day, or softly considering one's intentions and actions can reveal patterns that were invisible in the rush of daytime activity. Psychologists have observed that reflecting in these quiet hours allows the brain to consolidate experiences. Moments that seemed insignificant during the day, helping a colleague, listening to a friend, or completing a small task, often emerge upon reflection as meaningful contributions. The mind slowly notices how these small acts accumulate, like soft threads weaving together a tapestry of significance. Interestingly, evening reflection does not require judgment or analysis. It is not about deciding whether one succeeded or failed. Instead, it is about gently observing, acknowledging, and allowing insights to arise naturally. Thoughts drift, feelings are noted, and connections quietly form between actions, intentions, and deeper values. Over time, this soft awareness cultivates a patient sense of direction and purpose. This nightly pause also calms internal tension. By focusing inward gently, the mind releases lingering anxiety or distractions from the day. Life begins to feel more coherent, steady, and meaningful, even without dramatic changes or achievements. Purpose, in this way, whispers through the quiet moments before sleep, teaching the mind that meaning often emerges slowly, softly, and with gentle awareness. Purpose can emerge from mindful observation of the present. In the quiet stillness of daily life, purpose often hides in plain sight. It is not always found in grand gestures or monumental achievements, but in the gentle noticing of the world around us. Paying soft attention to ordinary moments, the way sunlight filters through leaves, the rhythm of rain on a window, or the slow unfolding of a conversation, allows the mind to discover subtle patterns of significance. Psychologists note that mindfulness, or gentle present moment awareness, strengthens neural pathways related to emotional regulation, reflection, and satisfaction. By observing life without judgment, the brain begins to connect small experiences with personal values and meaning. This slow recognition quietly anchors purpose, allowing life to feel coherent and softly significant. Interestingly, the power of observation is often underestimated. Simply noticing the textures, sounds, or rhythms of daily life can provide deep insights about what matters most. A brief pause to observe a loved one's smile, a neighbor's kindness, or the way a pet moves can awaken feelings of connection and contribution that the mind interprets as meaningful. Mindful observation also reduces mental chatter, stress, and anxiety. When attention is fully present, the mind rests, and clarity emerges naturally. In this calm state, purpose whispers gently, showing that life's significance often resides in small, slow, and ordinary moments, quietly guiding the mind toward alignment and deeper understanding. Purpose often grows through gentle persistence. Purpose rarely arrives suddenly. Instead, it often unfolds quietly through the steady, gentle rhythm of persistence. Repeating small actions, continuing simple routines, or gently working toward long-term goals helps the mind recognize patterns that feel meaningful, even if progress is imperceptible at the moment. Psychologists have observed that persistence, especially when aligned with values and interests, activates reward pathways in the brain, gradually reinforcing self-worth, identity, and a quiet sense of significance. Over time, these repeated behaviors form a gentle, internal framework of purpose that anchors daily life. Persistence also fosters patience and calm. As the mind notices incremental progress, anxiety and restlessness begin to fade, replaced by a soft understanding that meaningful growth is rarely instantaneous. Purpose, therefore, whispers quietly through gentle, repeated effort, reminding the mind that significance is often cultivated slowly, persistently, and with mindful attention to small, everyday actions. Purpose can be found in simple, everyday acts. Life often presents itself as a series of ordinary moments, yet within these small actions lies the quiet potential for purpose. Making a meal, watering a plant, helping a friend, or even taking time to breathe deeply and observe the surroundings can quietly reinforce a sense of meaning. Psychologists note that the brain perceives significance in repeated, intentional behaviors, even if they seem trivial on the surface. When these small acts align with personal values, care, responsibility, curiosity, or creativity, the mind begins to recognize a subtle rhythm of contribution and fulfillment. Over time, this rhythm becomes a steady, internal guide, softly anchoring identity and purpose. Interestingly, purpose does not always require external acknowledgement. The internal awareness that one has acted with care or attentiveness produces gentle satisfaction, activating neural pathways associated with reward and well-being. These subtle signals slowly accumulate, quietly shaping a sense of significance and calm. Engaging in small acts also reduces mental tension. When attention rests on meaningful action, even in miniature, the mind softens its habitual worries and anxieties, creating space for reflection and gentle awareness. Purpose, therefore, often whispers through everyday moments. By attending to ordinary acts with soft intention and mindful presence, life begins to feel coherent, connected, and quietly significant, a gentle reminder that even the smallest gestures carry meaning. Purpose deepens when we allow ourselves to move slowly. In a world that often encourages urgency, moving slowly can feel unfamiliar. Yet the mind frequently discovers purpose not through rushing, but through unhurried attention. When actions are performed gently, walking without hurry, preparing food carefully, or completing a task with calm focus, the brain begins to notice meaning hidden within the experience itself. Psychologists observe that slowing down reduces cognitive overload. When the nervous system relaxes, attention becomes clearer and more receptive. Small sensations, emotions, and thoughts that were once overlooked begin to surface softly. In this quieter mental space, the mind connects actions with intention, allowing purpose to emerge naturally rather than being forced. Interestingly, slow living does not mean doing less. Instead, it changes how experiences are felt. A conversation becomes deeper when listened to patiently. A creative task becomes meaningful when approached without pressure. Even rest becomes purposeful when it is accepted as nourishment rather than avoidance. Moving slowly also softens anxiety. Without constant urgency, the mind releases comparison and expectation. Each moment feels complete on its own, gently reinforcing the understanding that life does not need to be extraordinary to be meaningful. Purpose, therefore, often whispers in unhurried moments. By allowing time to stretch and experiences to unfold naturally, the mind learns that meaning grows quietly, not in haste, but in calm, attentive presence. Purpose often reveals itself through quiet patience. There are seasons in life when nothing seems to change quickly. Goals feel distant, answers remain unclear, and progress appears almost invisible. Yet psychologists often observe that these slower periods are not empty spaces. Instead, they are quiet intervals where purpose slowly takes shape beneath the surface, much like roots growing unseen beneath the soil. Patience allows the mind to process experiences without pressure. When we stop demanding immediate clarity, thoughts begin to organize themselves gently. Emotions settle. Lessons gathered from past experiences begin to connect in subtle ways. Over time, the brain recognizes patterns that were once hidden by urgency or distraction. Interestingly, patience is not passive waiting. It is an active softness, continuing small efforts while allowing outcomes to unfold naturally. Caring for relationships, practicing a skill, or simply showing up each day creates a steady rhythm that reassures the mind that movement is happening, even when it feels slow. Patience also reduces emotional exhaustion. Without constant striving, the nervous system relaxes, allowing reflection and creativity to emerge. In this calmer state, purpose often appears quietly, not as a sudden revelation, but as a gentle understanding of direction. Purpose, therefore, often whispers through waiting. It grows in moments when we allow life to unfold at its own pace, reminding the mind that meaning does not always arrive quickly. Sometimes it arrives softly, slowly, and exactly when the heart is ready to notice. Purpose can grow through gentle self-compassion. Many people search for purpose by pushing themselves harder, believing that constant effort or perfection will eventually reveal meaning. Yet psychologists often observe that purpose deepens not through harsh self-criticism, but through kindness toward oneself. When the mind feels safe rather than pressured, clarity begins to emerge naturally. Self-compassion is the quiet practice of responding to mistakes, fatigue, or uncertainty with patience instead of judgment. Speaking gently to oneself after a difficult day, allowing rest without guilt, or acknowledging effort even when outcomes are imperfect creates emotional stability. Over time, the brain learns that growth can happen without fear. Interestingly, when self-criticism softens, curiosity increases. The mind becomes more willing to explore interests, take small risks, and engage with meaningful activities. Purpose often grows in this softened environment because attention is no longer consumed by worry or comparison. Instead, energy becomes available for creativity, connection, and reflection. Self-compassion also calms the nervous system. Feelings of shame or urgency gradually ease, allowing thoughts to slow and emotions to settle. In this calm space, deeper values become easier to recognize. One begins to notice what truly matters, rather than what simply feels expected. Purpose, therefore, often whispers through gentleness toward oneself. By offering patience and understanding inwardly, the mind creates room for meaning to unfold slowly, like a quiet dawn arriving without hurry, illuminating direction with warmth and calm awareness. Purpose often emerges when we allow ourselves to rest. Rest is sometimes misunderstood as inactivity, yet psychologists often describe it as an essential part of meaningful living. When the body and mind are given permission to slow down, deeper reflection quietly begins. Thoughts that were scattered during busy hours gently gather themselves, forming connections that were previously unnoticed. During rest, the brain shifts into restorative patterns. Memories are organized, emotions are processed, and experiences settle into understanding. It is within this calm internal activity that purpose often begins to take shape. Without constant noise or urgency, the mind becomes more aware of what feels important and what quietly brings fulfillment. Interestingly, many moments of clarity arrive not while working intensely, but while resting, during a slow walk, a peaceful evening, or the moments just before sleep. In these softened states, imagination and insight move freely, allowing values and intentions to surface naturally. Rest also reduces emotional exhaustion. When pressure fades, comparison and worry lose their intensity. The nervous system relaxes, creating space for creativity and gentle curiosity. Life begins to feel less like a race and more like a steady unfolding journey. Purpose, therefore, often whispers through rest. By allowing pauses between effort, the mind learns that meaning does not require constant motion. Sometimes, the quietest moments carry the deepest understanding, guiding direction with calm and patient clarity. Purpose can be discovered through gentle gratitude. Gratitude often arrives quietly, without announcement. It is found in small recognitions, a warm meal, a familiar voice, a moment of safety, or the simple comfort of breathing calmly at the end of a long day. Psychologists observe that when the mind pauses to notice these small blessings, something subtle begins to change. Attention shifts away from what is missing and toward what already exists. This gentle shift has powerful effects within the brain. Gratitude activates emotional centers connected to contentment and connection, softening stress responses and encouraging calm reflection. Over time, the mind begins to associate everyday experiences with meaning rather than urgency. Purpose slowly emerges as life feels less fragmented and more quietly whole. Interestingly, gratitude does not require dramatic circumstances. Even acknowledging ordinary moments, sunlight entering a room, the sound of distant laughter, or the steady rhythm of one's own breathing, can create a sense of belonging within the world. These small recognitions accumulate, forming a quiet foundation of purpose rooted in appreciation. Gratitude also softens comparison and dissatisfaction. When attention rests gently on what is present, the nervous system relaxes. The mind becomes less restless, more open, and more receptive to direction. Purpose, therefore, often whispers through thankfulness. By noticing what already supports and sustains life, meaning unfolds slowly, like a calm tide rising without effort, reminding the heart that significance often lives within quiet appreciation. Purpose quietly strengthens through meaningful relationships. Human beings rarely discover purpose in complete isolation. Even the calmest, most independent minds are shaped by moments of shared understanding. A conversation that lingers gently in memory, a reassuring presence during difficulty, or the quiet comfort of simply sitting beside someone who understands. Relationships, when nurtured with patience and care, slowly deepen a sense of meaning. Psychologists observe that connection activates emotional systems linked to safety and belonging. When we feel seen or understood, the brain releases tension and becomes more open to reflection. In this softened state, purpose often begins to form naturally. It is not forced or searched for intensely. Instead, it grows through shared experiences and mutual care. Interestingly, meaningful relationships are not defined by constant excitement or dramatic moments. Often, purpose grows through ordinary interactions, checking on someone, sharing a meal, or listening without interruption. These small exchanges quietly reinforce the understanding that one's presence matters in another person's life. Relationships also provide mirrors through which identity becomes clearer. Through others, we notice kindness, patience, or strength within ourselves that might otherwise remain hidden. This gentle recognition nurtures direction and self-understanding. Purpose, therefore, often whispers through connection. In the steady rhythm of companionship and shared humanity, life begins to feel woven into something larger than individual effort. A calm reminder that meaning is often found not alone, but together in quiet moments of understanding. Purpose can emerge from accepting change softly. Change often arrives quietly, sometimes unnoticed at first. Seasons shift, relationships evolve, interests transform, and even the way we understand ourselves slowly moves in new directions. While change can feel uncertain, psychologists often observe that purpose deepens when the mind learns to accept transition gently rather than resist it. When we allow change without harsh judgment, the brain begins to adapt calmly. Old expectations loosen their grip, creating space for curiosity and reflection. A job ending, a new routine beginning, or a shift in priorities may initially feel unsettling. Yet within these moments lie opportunities for rediscovery. The mind slowly asks new questions. What matters now? What feels meaningful today? Interestingly, purpose rarely remains fixed throughout life. Just as rivers change course while still moving toward the sea, human purpose often reshapes itself through experience. Accepting this movement allows identity to grow naturally rather than becoming trapped in outdated roles or expectations. Acceptance also reduces emotional strain. Resistance creates tension, but softness invites understanding. When the nervous system relaxes, creativity and insight return, helping the mind recognize possibilities that were once hidden behind fear of uncertainty. Purpose, therefore, often whispers through change. By allowing life to evolve gently, the mind learns that meaning is not lost when circumstances shift. Instead, it quietly transforms, guiding direction with patience, adaptability, and calm awareness. Purpose often grows in moments of quiet solitude. Solitude is sometimes mistaken for loneliness, yet psychologists often describe it as a deeply nourishing space for reflection. When the noise of conversation fades and the demands of the world soften, the mind begins to listen more carefully to itself. In these calm moments alone, purpose often begins to reveal its quiet outline. Solitude allows thoughts to settle naturally. Without constant interruption, memories drift gently forward, emotions organize themselves, and small realizations begin to surface. A person may notice what truly brings peace, what creates tension, or what quietly inspires curiosity. These soft observations gradually guide understanding of direction and meaning. Interestingly, solitude does not require isolation from life. Even brief pauses, sitting quietly before sleep, taking a slow walk, or resting without distraction, can create enough space for reflection. During these moments, the brain shifts into restorative patterns, strengthening creativity and insight. Ideas that felt distant during busy hours often arrive softly when the mind is unhurried. Solitude also reduces emotional noise. Comparison fades, expectations loosen, and attention returns inward. In this calm internal environment, values become clearer and choices feel less complicated. Purpose, therefore, often whispers through solitude. By allowing moments of quiet companionship with oneself, the mind discovers that meaning grows gently in stillness, not through constant searching, but through patient listening and calm awareness. Purpose quietly deepens when we learn to let go. There are moments in life when holding on feels natural, holding on to expectations, past mistakes, old disappointments, or even versions of ourselves that once felt familiar. Yet psychologists often observe that purpose sometimes becomes clearer not through gathering more, but through gently releasing what no longer belongs to the present moment. Letting go is rarely dramatic. It often happens slowly, almost invisibly. A person may forgive themselves for something long carried in silence. A relationship may be remembered with gratitude instead of regret. An old goal may soften, making space for a quieter and more authentic direction. In these subtle shifts, emotional energy returns to the present, where meaning can begin to grow again. Interestingly, the brain experiences relief when burdens are released. Stress responses calm, mental tension eases, and attention becomes freer to notice possibility rather than limitation. Without the weight of constant rumination, creativity and curiosity gently awaken. The mind begins asking softer questions. What feels right now? What brings peace? What quietly invites growth? Letting go also allows identity to evolve. When past definitions loosen their hold, new understanding can emerge naturally. Life begins to feel less constrained by yesterday and more open to gentle discovery. Purpose, therefore, often whispers through release. By allowing certain stories, fears, or expectations to rest, the mind creates space for meaning to unfold slowly, like a calm horizon appearing after fog lifts, steady and quietly reassuring. Purpose can be nurtured through gentle reflection on nature. Spending quiet moments in nature allows the mind to settle into a rhythm that often reveals subtle meaning. Observing a tree sway in the breeze, listening to the soft trickle of water, or noticing the gradual shift of sunlight across a landscape provides a gentle reminder of life's continuity. Psychologists note that connecting with the natural world reduces stress, increases mindfulness, and enhances emotional clarity, creating fertile ground for a quiet sense of purpose to emerge. In these moments, the mind often begins to notice patterns and cycles. The way seasons change, life grows, and challenges are met with resilience. These reflections can mirror our own lives, encouraging soft understanding of personal growth, values, and priorities. Over time, repeated observations of natural rhythms foster a calm awareness that one's own actions, no matter how small, ripple through the world in meaningful ways. Interestingly, purpose discovered through nature does not require adventure or grand experiences. Even a few minutes observing the subtle movements of clouds, the rustle of leaves, or the intricate detail of a flower can awaken a gentle awareness of interconnectedness. The brain begins to recognize the small, consistent actions in life that contribute to broader patterns of significance. Nature also calms internal chatter. By softening the focus on worry, comparison, or expectation, the nervous system relaxes, allowing space for insight, patience, and understanding. Purpose, therefore, often whispers through gentle engagement with the natural world. By noticing life's quiet rhythms, the mind slowly uncovers meaning, reminding us that significance often grows in stillness, observation, and mindful presence. Purpose often emerges from soft, patient listening. There is a quiet power in listening with gentle attention. When we truly listen, not just to respond, but to understand, the mind begins to recognize subtle connections and contributions that often go unnoticed. Psychologists note that deep listening strengthens empathy, emotional awareness, and social connection, all of which quietly reinforce a sense of purpose. Listening patiently does not require words, instructions, or guidance. Even sitting beside someone in silence, acknowledging their presence, or allowing another to express thoughts without interruption fosters meaningful connection. These soft acts signal to the brain that one's presence matters, that contributions do not always need recognition, and that meaning can be quietly nurtured through awareness of others. Interestingly, listening also reflects inward. The mind that practices gentle attention outward learns to notice subtle patterns within itself. Emotions, values, and intentions become more visible when the brain is not consumed by distraction or judgment. Over time, these small recognitions coalesce into a steady, internal sense of direction and significance. Patience in listening also reduces internal noise. By focusing outward rather than ruminating inwardly, stress softens, worries recede, and clarity emerges naturally. Life begins to feel more coherent, steady, and connected. Purpose, therefore, often whispers through listening. In soft, attentive presence, meaning slowly grows, a reminder that the quiet act of being present for others can illuminate one's own path in gentle, enduring ways. Purpose often emerges through small, consistent acts of kindness. Kindness is rarely loud or dramatic, yet its gentle presence carries a quiet power that nurtures purpose. Small gestures, holding the door, offering a soft word of encouragement, sharing a smile, or taking a moment to help someone in need, can quietly signal to the mind that life has significance. Psychologists note that consistent, compassionate acts activate emotional reward pathways, fostering a sense of value and connection that is internal and enduring. Interestingly, the mind often perceives meaning in cumulative patterns rather than single grand gestures. One gentle act may seem minor in isolation, but when repeated, it creates a subtle rhythm that reinforces identity and purpose. The brain begins to recognize that one's presence contributes softly yet meaningfully to the well-being of others, forming a quiet backbone for life's significance. Practicing kindness also calms internal noise. By directing attention outward rather than dwelling on worry or self-criticism, the nervous system relaxes. Thoughts slow, and awareness opens to subtle connections with people, nature, and experiences around us. Over time, this gentle awareness nurtures reflection, empathy, and insight, which quietly anchor purpose. Purpose, therefore, often whispers through repeated, thoughtful acts of care. It is cultivated slowly, patiently, and softly, reminding the mind that even the smallest gestures, offered with genuine attention, can illuminate life with meaning. Purpose can grow through gentle acceptance of uncertainty. Life is rarely predictable. Plans shift, outcomes change, and moments of doubt quietly arrive without warning. Yet psychologists often observe that purpose deepens when the mind learns to accept uncertainty with patience rather than resisting it. Accepting the unknown does not mean giving up. It means softening the grip of control and allowing life to unfold naturally. When uncertainty is met gently, the brain becomes more open to subtle insights. Thoughts slow, reflection deepens, and the mind notices patterns and possibilities that were previously obscured by anxiety or expectation. Each quiet observation, a small decision, a soft realization, or an unnoticed connection, begins to form a gentle foundation for purpose. Interestingly, this practice does not require immediate clarity. Even in moments of hesitation, awareness of what feels meaningful can surface slowly, like soft light breaking through morning mist. The mind begins to recognize that direction is not always fixed, but evolves gradually with each step, each small choice, and each moment of attentive presence. Accepting uncertainty also reduces internal tension. Worries about outcomes and the pressure to predict or control life soften, leaving space for calm reflection. In this peaceful state, purpose emerges quietly, like a slow, steady current beneath the surface of life. Purpose, therefore, often whispers through uncertainty. By allowing life to remain gently unknown, the mind discovers that meaning is not lost in unpredictability. It simply unfolds with patience, awareness, and soft attention to the present moment. Purpose often emerges through gentle observation of others. Watching others with calm attention can reveal subtle insights that nurture a quiet sense of purpose. Observing how people respond to challenges, offer kindness, or follow their own paths allows the mind to reflect on values, priorities, and meaningful ways to act. Psychologists note that mindful observation strengthens empathy, social awareness, and emotional understanding, all of which quietly contribute to a sense of significance. Interestingly, this observation does not require judgment or evaluation. Simply noticing another person's patience, care, or quiet resilience can illuminate aspects of life that align with one's own values. The mind slowly recognizes patterns, both in others and within itself, creating soft awareness of meaningful behaviors and intentions. Engaging in gentle observation also calms internal noise. Attention directed outward reduces overthinking, comparison, or self-criticism, allowing the nervous system to relax. In this state of quiet awareness, small lessons about patience, persistence, or compassion begin to accumulate naturally, forming an internal map of purpose. Purpose, therefore, often whispers through observation. By noticing life and the choices of those around us with gentle attention, meaning emerges gradually, softly, patiently, and quietly, reminding the mind that learning from others can illuminate one's own path in calm and enduring ways. Purpose can be strengthened through gentle reflection on achievements. Even the smallest accomplishments, when noticed with calm attention, can quietly nurture a sense of purpose. Achievements do not need to be grand or celebrated by others. What matters is the mindful recognition of effort and progress. Psychologists observe that reflecting gently on personal accomplishments activates neural pathways related to reward and satisfaction, reinforcing a subtle, enduring sense of significance. This reflection often works best when approached without harsh self-criticism or comparison. Softly acknowledging the completion of a project, the learning of a new skill, or even the patient handling of a difficult day allows the mind to notice patterns of growth and resilience. Over time, these quiet recognitions accumulate, forming a stable foundation of self-awareness and purpose. Interestingly, reflecting on achievements also encourages gratitude. The mind begins to recognize not only outcomes but the process, the time, patience, and care invested in each step. This gentle awareness fosters contentment, softens anxiety, and deepens the understanding that meaning often resides in consistent, mindful effort rather than in dramatic results. Purpose, therefore, often whispers through reflection. By noticing and appreciating even small successes, the mind cultivates a calm, patient sense of direction, reminding us that life's significance often grows slowly, quietly, and with attentive awareness of our own unfolding journey. Purpose can be discovered through gentle reflection on gratitude. Gratitude is a quiet, subtle force that nurtures purpose. Psychologists note that when the mind pauses to notice what it appreciates, from small daily comforts to meaningful relationships, a gentle sense of meaning begins to unfold. Gratitude helps the brain recognize patterns of value, kindness, and connection that might otherwise go unnoticed in the rush of life. Reflecting on gratitude does not require grand gestures or dramatic moments. Even softly acknowledging a warm cup of tea, a quiet conversation, or the calm presence of nature allows the mind to notice the threads of significance woven throughout everyday experiences. Over time, these gentle reflections accumulate, forming a quiet foundation for understanding what matters most. Interestingly, gratitude also calms the nervous system. By focusing on what is present and meaningful, internal stress and tension soften, making room for reflection and clarity. The mind becomes more attuned to subtle signals of purpose, small actions, repeated choices, and consistent patterns that align with values and fulfillment. Purpose, therefore, often whispers through gratitude. By gently noticing and appreciating life's small, meaningful moments, the mind discovers significance slowly, patiently, and quietly. A soft reminder that meaning often grows not through grand accomplishments, but through mindful awareness of what is already present and valuable. Purpose can be nurtured through gentle reflection on connections. Connections, whether with people, nature, or experiences, quietly shape a sense of purpose. Psychologists observe that when the mind takes time to reflect on relationships and interactions, not in judgment or analysis, but with calm attention, it begins to notice patterns that reveal what is meaningful. These reflections illuminate values, priorities, and the subtle ways we influence and are influenced by the world around us. Reflection on connections does not require grand gestures or dramatic recognition. Even softly noticing moments of support, shared laughter, or acts of kindness helps the brain recognize the significance of small but meaningful bonds. Over time, these gentle reflections accumulate, forming an internal understanding of what nurtures fulfillment, belonging, and purpose. Interestingly, paying attention to connections also reduces stress and internal tension. When the mind observes relationships with awareness rather than rushing or overthinking, clarity emerges naturally. Subtle patterns appear: how care is offered, received, and reciprocated, showing how our lives are woven into larger, meaningful networks. Purpose, therefore, often whispers through reflection on connections. By gently noticing the ways we relate to others and the world, the mind slowly uncovers meaning, softly and patiently. A quiet reminder that significance grows in attentive awareness of the bonds that quietly shape our lives. Purpose often emerges through gentle acceptance of life's flow. Life moves in rhythms that are often subtle and unseen. Psychologists observe that purpose often deepens when the mind learns to accept the natural flow of events, not with resistance, but with calm awareness. Accepting life's ups and downs allows the brain to notice patterns, lessons, and opportunities for meaning that might otherwise be overlooked amid stress or urgency. Gentle acceptance does not mean passivity or surrender. It is the soft recognition that some things are beyond control, and that attention is most effectively placed on what can be influenced or appreciated. By observing experiences with patience and curiosity, the mind gradually uncovers direction, values, and significance. Over time, repeated moments of acceptance accumulate, forming a calm internal understanding of life's rhythm. Interestingly, this acceptance also fosters emotional balance. By softening resistance, anxiety diminishes, and the nervous system relaxes, creating space for insight and reflection. Subtle lessons emerge in quiet moments, showing how challenges, joys, and ordinary routines weave together to create meaning and coherence. Purpose, therefore, often whispers through gentle acceptance of life's flow. By softening the need for control and observing events with patience and awareness, the mind discovers meaning slowly, patiently, and quietly, a gentle reminder that significance grows in harmony with the natural rhythm of life. Purpose can be fully realized through gentle integration of life experiences. Purpose often emerges quietly when the mind reflects on the entirety of life's experiences, the joys, the challenges, the small moments, and the seemingly ordinary routines. Psychologists note that when one allows experiences to be acknowledged and integrated without rush or judgment, the brain begins to perceive patterns of meaning and direction that were previously hidden. This gentle synthesis forms a soft but enduring foundation for understanding what life truly signifies. Integration does not require perfect memory or absolute clarity. Even softly noticing the lessons learned, the personal growth achieved, or the subtle ways life's events shaped values and priorities contributes to a calm awareness of purpose. Over time, these reflections accumulate, creating a steady internal map that guides decisions, behavior, and aspirations in ways that feel coherent and aligned with what truly matters. Interestingly, this process also cultivates resilience and peace. By acknowledging past mistakes, celebrating achievements, and appreciating small, quiet moments, the mind reduces internal conflict and softens stress. Purpose, therefore, often whispers through the integration of life itself. By patiently, softly, and mindfully observing, reflecting, and embracing experiences, meaning unfolds slowly and quietly. A gentle reminder that significance grows not in isolated moments, but in the calm, continuous weaving together of all that life offers.